All right, well, welcome back to part 2 of learning Onshape. And just to set our expectations for today, last time we spent an inordinate amount of time getting everybody sort of like signed in and stuff. So I apologize that took so long. It took about a half hour for us to get going last time, but that's all right. We did some work with inserting stuff, and I wanted everybody to sort of see kind of how constraints work. I had really scheduled this thing out for about 4.5 hours, and we can actually get quite a ways in 4.5 hours in a smaller group, but in a large group, there was a lot of individualized help needed, and that's 100% fine. I also neglected, I got into the minutia yesterday, or last time, sorry, and I neglected to point out that a lot of the stuff that I was trying to show you guys is actually stuff you can kind of learn on your own by using the Learning Center. So I'm going to cover that right off the bat today. And then we're going to, for those of you who did not finish your square model last time, I have a solution for you that will allow everybody to catch up, and we'll all start at the same place today. So so that's what's coming. So today we're going to spend a little less time on assembly, just a little less time on assembly, or actually quite a bit less time on assembly. I want to focus more on how to use libraries, and because that's sort of and how to import libraries. And again, a lot of this stuff is covered in the Learning Center, but there's a lot of stuff in the Learning Center. If you want to kind of get up to speed, or if you want to get going a little faster than having to learn everything first, I'll show you how we go about doing it. Does that sound right? Okay, so I'm going to share my screen. It's over here. All right. So a lot of folks ended up with a square. Some folks ended up with things that aren't quite square. It's all good. If you are in, let's see, where's mine? I'm going to go with Kevin our second bot. That's the one I was working on. I didn't actually finish mine either, because I had to go do something else. So love what you all did. If you would like, and you would like to catch up to today, here's what you do. You're going to highlight all of this stuff like this, and then you hit the delete key. Oops, oh, and then you got to get rid of these guys too. So I want to highlight. There we go. I'm going to drag and highlight these things. Oh, weird. I do not know why those are not disappearing, but that's really strange. The other way, so I highlighted and deleted, and that if that doesn't work for you, you can actually, in this assembly area, go ahead and delete these. All right. Now, my dear friend Lillian, she has just appeared. So Lillian, I'm going to, and for anybody else who just appeared, to help you catch up really quick, I am going to show you something. So Lillian, are you able to log into Onshape?
Yeah, I'm logged in right now.
All right. So what I'd like you to do is, do you have so you're going to go to Teams. You're going to go to FTC Tuesdays with Kevin. Do you see how to do that? Teams, FTC Tuesdays with Kevin. And then there's a directory in here. I named it the same thing as the team, but that's okay. And you'll find a whole bunch of other people's files here. Make sense?
Yeah. Is it the one that you sent out on, oh wait, this morning? I only have one from this morning, and then like at 6:15 today.
Show me your screen real quick, and we'll whiz you through there. So if you hit share screen, let me whiz you through this really fast.
Okay. I don't see an option to share my screen.
It should be down at the bottom if you wiggle on all of our pictures.
I don't see that.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So do you have it like the
Oh, yeah, I
gallery?
do. There we go.
You got it? All
Yeah.
right. Very
Okay.
cool. All right, dear friend. So what I'm going to have you do, there you go. Yeah. So double click on FTC Tuesday with Kevin. Perfect. Yep. All right. So this is, everybody was drawing the same thing. So I'm going to catch you up really fast and give everybody a little bit of a refresher on how to create a document. So up in the upper left-hand corner, you're going to do create. See that up there? Yeah. Create document. And you're going to call it Lillian space bot and create public document. Oh, create. Oh, cool. All right. And then if you can hit done on this stuff. It's all good.
Okay.
See the little blue things?
Right. Oh, behind, like right here.
Yeah, click done.
The zoom thing's like in the way. Hold on. Oh, okay, there.
Okay. Click on assembly. It's down along the bottom. Okay. So now everybody else, if you had deleted your stuff like I had, what you can do is we're going to do an insert. Lillian, it's up in the upper left above the list there. Do insert. Other documents. We're going to go with Tuesdays with Kevin. And actually go up to Tuesdays with Kevin non-editable files. This should have appeared in everybody's directory. Go ahead and double click that. And first sample robot. So what I did, team, is I moved a copy of my FIRSTBot into another directory that you can't edit. Only I can edit. And that way people were playing with my model, and so I had to like undo a few things. So Lillian, now you're going to click on Assemblies. See where it says Assemblies? Yeah.
Yes.
And if you look down at the bottom, it says Robot Base Frame. Go all the way down to the bottom. Click that once. And then click the green check mark. And you're totally caught up. Yay! You're exactly where everybody else thought they were going to finish. So hopefully everybody saw that. So what we just did is we inserted an assembly out of another file, and it is where we left off yesterday. If you're so inclined and would like to follow along today, and you didn't get yours looking like this, you might want to do that. So cool. I'm going to take the screen back there, Lillian, because you did an awesome job. And we're going to is my screen shared? John, is my screen shared? You're seeing it? Okay, good. All right. So I am about to do the same thing. I'm going, if you didn't see it when Lillian did it, here's what we're going to do. I deleted everything in my file, and I'm going to other documents and FTC Tuesdays with Kevin, and I'm going into this non-editable files, and I'm going to open the first sample robot and assemblies and robot base frame, and I'm going to stick it right there. And I'm now 100% caught up to where we got yesterday. Okay, hoping everybody's good with that. Say so if you're not right now, because I'm going to keep going.
Not yet.
All right.
Okay, so go to the Tuesday, FTC Tuesday with Kevin. So you said to go to that non-editable.
Go to non-editable, yeah. And then you're going to go into FIRSTBot sample robot.
Click on that.
And then we're going after, this is actually an assembly. So click on assemblies.
Oh, in assembly.
The robot base frame all the way down at the bottom.
Got it.
Okay.
Yep.
Yay.
Cool.
All right. So today I wanted to focus a little bit more on libraries rather than assembling things. What is a library? Well, it's a interesting thing about how Onshape works is that you can actually borrow or import parts out of any file that you can find. It's actually kind of cool. And so, for example, we all just went and borrowed an assembly out of a document that my version of the sample document yesterday. So technically you could consider that to be a library. More to the point, I guess, is that libraries are documents. They contain both part studios and they contain assemblies within them, and they're really intended to be places that you go to find things, pre-made things that you can use. I'm just going to leave my second bot thing here, and I'm just going to show you real quick. So we have all of our documents, and then in FIRSTBot library, we have a few files that are really specifically there just to be libraries. They're not really intended to be places where you draw stuff, unless you're drawing a library part. Okay, but anyway, this is really intended to be imported into robots or into other files. And how you choose to organize them is a very interesting task. A very interesting thing to try and figure out. So, for example, we often times will use the manufacturer. So, like in this file, I expect to find probably only things from AndyMark. Makes sense, right? So anytime I import something from AndyMark, I'll put them in here. I'm going to back up one file out of there. By the same token, Rev Robotics. This is 8020. That's this is the extrusion company. So these are all of the plates and stuff that go with 8020. So a lot of people will do it either by the vendor or the manufacturer or whatever makes sense to you. Most people end up doing things by vendor. If you remember, I think most of you actually managed to join in a second team, which is the FTC robotic part users. If you didn't, don't worry about it. If I click on here, these are all library parts. So they have like, AndyMark, and they're trying very hard to get all of the things that you can buy from AndyMark that have step files in them in here. Okay, and so these are just these are directories. Let's see, let's go with wheels. So they have compliant wheels, all the different kinds of wheels you can get. So let's go into Omni wheels. Here are all of the AndyMark Omni wheels. And if I click on one of these and open it, there's a model. I can import this into my model if I wanted to, into my document. So that's the idea behind library files. And it allows you to actually assemble a complete robot without ever actually having to draw anything. The management of these files can be a little bit on the tricky side. And so that I wanted to spend just a little bit of time showing you where to get a file. How the heck did you get one of these parts? How to import it into your own library, and some of the weirdnesses that happen when you do that. So that was my plan for today. If I'm going to go over it, I'm probably not going to cover it in the minutia detail that they do in the Learning Center. So when you look at the Learning Center here and you go to all self-paced courses, you can find you can find importing and exporting data. They do a much more thorough and concise job of explaining this than I probably would. Having said that, some of the stuff that they tell you all the details, but they don't really give you a plan on how to actually use it. So I'm hoping to show you how it works and also give you a little bit more of a plan on how to use it. Okay, so I'm going to go back to these documents real quick, and actually I'm going to go back to our team. FTZ Tuesdays with Kevin. Okay, and I'm going to go back into our FIRSTBot library. We're going to go and add something to one of these libraries. These are just documents. So I'm going to open up the Andy Mark directory, or the Andy Mark document. And you can see I tried to organize things by motors and wheels. Those are the two things I have at the moment. So if I look under wheels, I currently have only this wheel here. Okay, so let's say that we would like an Omni wheel. So I'm going to go now to a new browser window, and I'm going to go to andymark.com. And you know, I've been browsing around. Maybe I want to go find Omni wheels. And wow, here's a very nice FTC Omni wheel, 4-inch one. So I'm going to take a look at this. And it's very sturdy. It's all aluminum. It's an awesome wheel. I'm sure I'd love them. And so I decided I'm going to use these. And if I come down here into the documents, there's a few things down here. There's a CAD file and a layout print. And so the CAD files that you can import are usually called step files. And so STEP, .step. And that is a very standard, it's kind of old, honestly. They haven't changed this format in like 25, 30 years, but it's pretty ubiquitous and you can almost always find a step file for something. There are other file formats that you can import if you want to, but we're gonna use a step file. So if I click this, it'll download. You can see it downloaded to my browser. And so there's now a step file on my computer. And so I'm now going to invite everybody to actually go do that. So I want you to go to andymark.com in your browser and go to mechanical. And you're going to go over to motor or wheels, click on Omni. Okay. And then you're going to find the FTC 4-inch aluminum Omni wheel and click on that. And then go down and click on the step file and it should download to your computer. Hopefully it's done that, everybody. Anybody lost? Okay, I'm going to assume that you're all there. Because we're all going to import that into our file. So now I'm going to go back to my second bot file. So there's my frame. Everybody there? Okay, and if I hit this plus down here, you can see that this means add, and I can add applications, material libraries. There's a bunch of stuff that we don't know about yet. I could create another assembly. I could do a drawing and folders, stuff like that. Or I can do an import. So we're going to do an import. And it's going to bring up a browser. And mine are in the downloads directory. And I am looking for this step file. And I'll pause there. Is anybody lost? Go ahead, feel free to speak up.
Where's the plus to or the import button?
Okay. So I'm in my document, on my Onshape document. If I go down to the very lower left corner, there's a plus. See it down here?
Oh yeah, okay, I see that. Yeah,
Okay.
I see it now.
Insert new element, import. And most of us it should have ended up in our downloads file, a directory. So I'm going to click on that and I'm going to click open. And you should end up with this. Everybody got that?
Yeah.
All right. So now we're going to import this into this document. And there are some options here. When you look at this, this will import a document that is either a part or an assembly. And so that's kind of cool. Because some step files are actually assemblies and some are just simple parts. The other option is to combine into a single part studio. And so that doesn't really deal with assemblies. However, if there are multiple parts in there, it will create a part studio that has a whole bunch of stuff in it. Okay. So for us right now, we're going to use import into this document. Okay. And we're going to hit OK. And you're going to get a little dialogue kind of like this. And what it just did is it inserted a whole bunch of stuff. Wow. I'll be honest with you, I hadn't actually ever imported this particular thing. I probably should have tried it first, but it's all good. If I didn't like that, I wonder if I undo, does it disappear? Let me take a look. Oh yeah, if I want to, I think I can. We can undo it if we want to. All right, so we'll deal with that later. So it imported just a whole bunch of these things. So what it is it's a wheel. There it is. So there's the wheel, but it also imported each individual part as an assembly. And this is where a little bit of experience, and I'm sorry that I picked this particular wheel to import, honestly, but that's okay. You sometimes end up with kind of a mess. So let's all undo that. Now here's how I think if you hit undo a couple of times, it might work. So you go back to robot, and actually if you, give me a sec to try this. Before you do, see where it says insert tabs. I'm going to go to the line before it, and that'll just give me the robot base frame. So this is my original version of my document. So if I wanted to get rid of all of this, I can actually, let me do this again. So one of the really cool things about this program is that every change you make gets logged. And sometimes if you want to go back, you can open this versions in history tab. You can, let me start over. So if I go to this tab, I can look to see what all changed. I see there was an import document and insert tabs. This is what I want to undo. I don't want all those tabs. It would be a lot of undoing to undo all of that. So I'm just going to go back to where I had my robot base. I like this. If I hit restore to main, it will unwind everything I just did and give me my bot back without all those things. Try that. Let's see how that works. I'm sorry, this was confusing. I didn't intend for this to be so weird. How are we doing? Everybody got that?
List start main. Where is the list start main? I didn't see it.
Okay, no worries. Here.
Yeah.
More than 25. I'm going to go down to this point, and then up here, it says restore to main and return to main. Restore to main will unwind down to that line I selected.
Okay, so you select the list, the assembly one, insert.
Yeah, in robot. Yeah, or assembly one. Yeah, thank you. in assembly, if you clicked on assembly one, go down and find where it says insert robot base frame, or to the whatever line is just before insert tabs,
Okay, yeah, see it.
and then
So
restore to main.
restore to main. Okay, got it.
That was a big massive undo there. Okay, we're going to actually import that part again, but we're going to do it differently. I'm going to go to insert new element, import, and same guy, the same file, and I'm going to hit open. And this time, see where it says create composite part? This check mark?
Mhm.
We're going to do that, and we're going to try that. And I'm not sure if it's 100% going to work, but we're going to try it. Let me try it first, actually, before you guys hit OK on that. If you haven't yet, give me a sec. Let me try it. No, still did the same thing. So, okay, I picked a challenging part. I apologize. I usually pre-try all of this stuff. Okay, I'm going to try import. All right, I'm going to combine into a single part studio. Okay, and we'll see what it does. Okay, did it survive? Oh, yay, look at us. Okay. So that was a small assembly. There it is, a whole bunch of stuff. See that?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we should do that.
Almost. Yes, go ahead and do that. Go ahead and do that. Now the thing is, you ended up with a ton of parts down here, and it's all good. Those are the ton of parts that you wanted. The thing that we could have done is when we imported it, and I'm going to bring up what is equivalent to the import dialog. If you remember, there was a little checkbox that would have allowed us to create a composite part. And if we had checked that and I hit OK, then the assembly becomes just a single part. And that's actually what we wanted to do. We're going to do this. I will demonstrate this again because I just made this really confusing. However, when you go to do the, when you actually go to do this, you just saw that sometimes you import something and you really didn't get what you expected. And there are options that if you undo it, there are a couple of different ways to import things to get it to be closer to what you want. Because the first time I imported it, it imported a whole bunch of sub-assemblies and then the assembly I actually wanted, but I ended up with all of those tabs. I didn't want all those tabs. So I undid that. Then I tried inserting it as a composite part, but I still got all those tabs. So I undid that. And then I inserted it as its own part studio and got what I wanted. Wow, I'm sorry, that was confusing. I hope you still like me. Okay. And now if I go and I do it, I can go back to my assembly. By the way, if you want to follow mine a little closer, I guess when I wasn't looking, I actually renamed assembly one. I did a rename operation on it and I named it robot instead of assembly one. You're welcome to do that right now. just right click on the robot assembly tab, do a rename, call it robot, or right click on assembly one. Okay. All right. So now if I go do it, I can now do an insert, and you can see a part studio that has that aluminum wheel, and I can actually insert this guy, right? So to recap, I went to andymark.com, boink, found a part I really wanted to use, downloaded the step file. In my document, I did an import. I picked a file. In this particular case, what I really should have done was clicked on combine into a single part studio and clicked composite and okay. And it's just going to import another one here. You do have to wait for this importing thing to finish, for the conversion to finish. So there we go. So now that time I got something is identical. It's a composite part with that thing. So that makes sense. Those were the steps.
So we can do it again, right? To go to version and then undo everything and then de-import it.
Yeah. Yep. And you saw that we can actually do I can remove all of that. In fact, this is a great time to try it again, if for those of you who haven't tried this yet, which is to use the version control, come down to insert robot base frame. That's where I want to get back to, and just do a restore to main. And that got rid of all of those imports and all of the nasty stuff. How am I doing? You like me now?
This is good, because we probably would make a similar mistake when we're inputting other things. So now we've got some practice on how to do this.
Yeah. Now allow me to show you, if you don't mind, I'm going to show you how a good method for dealing with parts that did what we just saw is to do the following. This is my library. So this is the library I'm trying to build up of things that I would really like the students to be able to insert, but I don't, the downside to some of the ways that things get imported is you end up, let me go back and just show you an example of something that doesn't import well. I'm going to go to my team has, and this is stuff that I learned over time. And so my team has a few things in our library that are really kind of ugly. One of them is actually a Andy Mark motor. Andy Mark never rest. Okay. So before we knew any of this stuff, we imported this never rest motor. This is a never rest orbital motor. And actually it turns out that these are all of the little subcomponents in that motor. So, so we really don't, that isn't what we wanted. That's like all of those little parts that make up a motor show up and are insertable. And it makes it hard to, because a lot of people look at this and they go, well, where's the actual motor? And then they find it. So here it is. And now I'm confused because that didn't work. Let me try again down here. Yeah, see, then I find an assembly. Well, here's an assembly, but maybe that isn't what I wanted. So it's ugly. Here's how you fix that. Under documents, I'm going to go to, I'm actually not going to import it into AndyMark because I know it's a bunch of parts. I use this other library called Imported Components Library. So if I click in here, these are documents that I import troublesome parts into that we just found one, right? So I'm going to import into here. that troublesome file that we had, import this guy, okay? And I'm going to combine them into a single part studio. While it's doing that, see how the motor's got nice coloring and stuff on it? I would like it. I would like our thing to have that. The thing is, if I made this into a composite part, it'll do it. Oh, it kept it. Never mind. I lied. Never mind what I was just about to tell you. They fixed it. Okay, good. Never mind. All right. So here is my thing with all of those parts, right? And if I go to insert this into a document, let me try and insert that thing into our document. Tuesdays with Kevin, FIRSTBot library. If I wanted to import that new wheel, ignore that for a sec. I'll tell you about that in a minute. Here's my Omni wheel, but it lists every individual component. Not what I wanted, right? So what my trick is on this is I import those parts into an imported components library. Then I go back up one level and I'll go to the AndyMark document. And then I'll go into the wheels folder here. I'm going to import. Oh no, I'm going to create an assembly. Okay. And this is going to be my AndyMark, the Omni wheel. So I'm going to rename it. So this is an assembly. There we go. And I'm going to insert from that imported library. I'm going to import this wheel with all of its icky parts right there. Okay. So now and you can see there's the list of parts. It's long, it's ugly. And then I highlight them all and I do something called a group. And what a group does is it fixes it. So the other ugly thing about imports is that in assemblies that are imported, the relationships between things are not imported. They come apart. And this is really unfortunate when you import this because you can't move the wheel around, right? So what you do is you can group all of that stuff together, and now it becomes a single solid part. Okay. I have to do something called creating a version. So every time you are happy with a document, you come up here and hit this create version, and you can type in a description. I added Omni wheel. Omni wheel, okay. And what this does is it saves this as a usable thing, okay. It's creating a version. Okay, so it created a version, and now if I go back here and go back to AndyMark, now you'll end up finding there's an assembly with an Omni wheel in it, and the Omni wheel comes in as a wheel. It has a bunch of parts, but you didn't have to import all of the parts. It's just it's a single thing, and the coloring is all correct. All right, so what did I just show you? I showed you how, if you are having weird problems importing something, you can put it in a sub document, make an assembly out of all of those sub parts, and then in your library file. So your library has a level of indirection. Boy, that was pretty esoteric. Did that make any sense? Somebody give me a thumbs up. Give me a thumbs up or tell me if that made sense.
So this way, it's actually you just showed it. You download with actually it's not like a create a compose. It's rather than create a compose. It's all the individual parts come in, and then you regroup it, name it, and save it separated.
Yes.
Folder, and use as let group the part as a composed part.
Yeah. And so I created a subfolder of this library where all of the troublesome parts, the ones that I needed to create an assembly out of, I just leave all of the subcomponents down in here. Like for example, the Rev Robotics control hub comes, they give you every connector is its own model. And it goes on forever. And the case is its own model. And it's really difficult to import that part. It's very miserable to import that part. So what I did is I did import that part into this file. And then in the upper directory under Rev Robotics, I made an assembly. And so this file only presents, I don't want to ask why. Oh, you can't insert something into itself. Okay. So this file only presents that assembly. Wow, this was a little rougher to explain than I thought. John, did this make any sense to you?
Yeah, it made sense. I mean, what I wrote in the comments, what I liked about inserting it as a kind of a broken apart part or a non-assembly, that's a better way to think of it, is it would allow me to show kids how you can deconstruct a part, or if you had like part of the part broken, pull that out. So
yeah. And like,
there we go.
And Pete is exactly right, is that the grouping thing, you could import all these parts and group them in your own file. But heaven forbid, if you forgot to do that, it's really confusing because you can end up mating something to it. And then a little bit later, that if you forgot to do the grouping, you could end up moving parts of it off in various directions, and you end up with quite a mishmash mess. So for students, I think this is a better plan.
So Kevin, there's a couple of questions I have.
Yeah.
One is that, it seemed like you went to, you did go through 2 steps of first inputting into this strange parts thing and then into the assembly. Is it not possible to like somehow import it straight into the assembly? Is that just not a thing you can do?
No, you can do that. Here's the downside is you'll end up with 2 importable things. So what I'm trying to do is hide the import of that. And let me show you what I mean by that. One of ours does this. It is in IndyMark, this guy. Okay, so it turns out that you'd end up with both an assembly that you could insert in this file, but you can also import the part studio for that file. And so the students don't ever know when am I supposed to import the part studio or the assemblies.
That's all visible side by side, basically.
It's all visible side by side. So the reason for putting the part studio and the sub-assemblies in another directory that you don't usually access is that then you just get the motor.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you could end up with a big list of parts, and it makes it confusing. My libraries, the libraries for my team are actually really messy because half the kids half the team didn't really know how to do all this importing stuff, and they imported a lot of stuff the first year, and then it got really messy, and we have to go through and fix it. But
Okay. And the other question I had was, in the middle of this, you did a kind of a checkpoint, and
Yes.
that is why did you do that? Obviously, it seems like a useful thing to do, but
it is.
is
So let me show you what happens if you don't do the checkpoint. I'm going to go with, we'll go up here, and I'm going to, let's go to the Andy Mark one, and I'm going to just change something here. In fact, I'm going to drag, I'm going to ungroup these, start a main, and then I'm going to take this part and
move it around?
yeah, I don't want to move it too far because I kind of like this model. Well, anyway, I think I'm done there. If I actually now go to insert that Omni wheel, let me go do another insert. It's going to bring this up. And what that's saying is that there are changes to this file that exist. And in order for you to, it's telling you that there's one change since the last version, you should probably create a new version. And so it's just sort of nice to not do that to people because,
Okay.
yeah, does that make sense?
Yeah, thank you.
All right, but I'm going to create a version. Well, actually, no, I'm not going to create a version. I'm going to go back to this guy, and I'm going to show changes. Oh, actually, I did make a change. All right, so yep, I need to create a new version. All right, we'll just make the new version here. Create a version. There it goes. Okay, so with the version control, when you create a version, you're creating a checkpoint of something that you believe is good to use. And if you make more changes, it may or may not be good to use. And so usually at the end of the day, when you've got something that you like, before you go modify anything else, you should probably make a version. Some of our robots end up with like 200 or 300 versions because somebody edits away. God, I really like that, create a version. Okay. All right, so I'm going to go up one, our other documents. So now when I go to insert that same thing, it is going to use the latest version of that file. So I don't get that error. There's another one. All right. The other thing that'll happen is that when you update the versions, you'll occasionally start seeing these blue wheels. And this is especially true when you're using library parts. So I'll bring that up now. As new versions are being created, it's telling you that somebody created a new version of your part. You have the option of ignoring it, or you can click that and update the versions. And actually, if there's a whole bunch of changes to your libraries, you can actually do all of them by clicking this one up here, and that will update all libraries that have gotten changed. It will just go regenerate all of those parts for you. Okay, and it'll usually tells you what it changed up there. So there you go.
Kevin, can you quickly show again how do you create the new version?
Sure. I like this version of my robot at the moment. So every document has this ability. So the new version is created right here. This little plus and a checkpoint.
Oh, I see.
And then I can create a version. And there it is. And then when you go up here, this is the history, versions in history. So I'm going to move a few things here. Whoops, that one was not grouped. Oh, because my new version, see what I did? My new version, I completely forgot. I ungrouped it. And so this is what happens when you have ungrouped parts. Each individual part moves on its own. And it's super unfortunate. So I just did all that and I went, oh man. So how do I get back? Well, I can go up to this versions and history. And I happen to know that version 1 was actually was a good set. Although here's all of these changes, but I should be able to go to I should be able to go to this and find it was before I dragged anything. I like this one. I'll restore that to main. So I got my part back. I got my file back.
Of course, in this case, of course, the parts are still ungrouped, right? That's
Parts are still ungrouped.
Yeah.
Over here, I can go fix that in here by going, oh, all right, what were the changes? I don't know. Let's see, there was one change here. There was a restore. Here's a change. Group. I'm looking for, I think actually.
Ungrouped action.
Was that down here? Do you see ungroup? I don't see ungroup.
Didn't see it. It was.
Might have been that. Insert feature group. Probably was some sort of ungroup thing. Well, anyway, what I'll do is I'm just going to close this, return to main. I'll just do like this. Group them. Now they're grouped. Create a new version. There we go. So now when I go back to my other file, again, it's found a new version. So I'm going to update them all. And now they're grouped. I can move them around.
Yep.
Okay,
That's really,
so
really powerful.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Now, if it's too long an answer, you can punt on this. But if somebody makes an update to a part that changes the dimensions and you import it, then what happens? Because you might have other constraints in your robot that's touching and so on.
Yes, your model breaks. That's why so your model will break. However, you can you can roll back. You can roll back to before the update. I think it's update out of. Yeah, you could roll back to here and get your part back to where it was. But yeah, that's a problem. That's always a problem if somebody changes a library part. And that's why we treat libraries as special documents that are, you need to be careful about changing things and moving things. Now, there are a lot of times like you could change the holes and stuff. As long as you are just moving the holes or resizing the holes, you're fine. But if you delete holes, and then make new holes up here, the library part looks fine, but it turns out that the CAD program is remembering exactly which holes. Everything's got a name. They're named holes. If you delete the named holes and create new ones, they have new names, and so the relationships don't work anymore. And that's a super common problem with modifying things that are in a librry directory. So you always want to be a little careful with that. Did that make sense?
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Hey, Kevin, let me summarize it. So look at this operation versus when you first time imported it. If you imported and at the same time also create a composite, which is display no color anymore, right?
Yeah.
But if you don't create a composite when you import it, you still bring parts in and the line, but it's not a composite, but so you have to regroup it. So all the colorful thing is resolved, right?
Yeah. And Pete was Pete is saying this in the chat as well, is that the group thing, so this group feature, in order to keep the parts together, actually works in assemblies. So if I imported something, if I import that file again, and I'm going to put it in this, I'm putting it in my document. And if I combine it into a single part studio, that seemed to work better. All the parts went into one studio. we'll let that import. Okay, so here it is, and it is a bunch of individual parts that are not actually associated with each other, but the way that they got put into the part studio, they are geographically in the correct spot, but they're not constrained or anything. And it turns out that in this scenario, where we imported it into a part studio, those parts are now just sitting there. And there's no way to group them because the group is an assembly thing. It's not a part studio thing. Now, what you can do, did that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, and it turns out you can't even move these things. They don't, moving stuff around is an assembly function. So now, what you can do is I can edit an import. If I forgot to do it as a composite, I can actually right click, edit, brings up this little menu, and it allows me to go back and say, well, instead of giving me every one of those little parts, go back and recompute this thing and make a composite part out of it. And now you can see that there's only one part. All of the sub parts are now part of the composite part. Okay. And oftentimes, however, if I go to insert this one, insert this composite guy, I sometimes end up with funny colors.
Yeah.
So I believe they are trying to fix that so that making composite does, or you have the option of not changing the individual component colors. That's another very good reason for importing into a sub file, making an assembly that is in your library, okay, and then and grouping that. You save the colors.
Yeah.
I've probably lost half of you, haven't I? Is it who's glazing over? Well, we're gonna go back and continue to do some other stuff with the library stuff right now. Okay.
Actually, wait, I have a question. Sorry. So I messed up in the beginning.
Yeah.
And so I had to backtrack a lot to put back the robot base.
Okay.
And so when I tried to re-import the Omni wheel, it came out as a sketch. It came out all together.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but it keeps coming out as a sketch, and I don't know how to get imported to not be a sketch. And so I also missed everything about saving it as its own thing.
No worries. Luckily, this whole thing is being videoed, so maybe we can have you go back and watch the video. Is that okay? You could just
that's fine.
Okay. Cool. All right. All of this importing stuff is actually covered in the course catalog. There's a whole set of nice little classes, a little course that explains how to import, the options for importing and those sorts of things. What they really didn't talk to was how to recover from funky imports and strategies for making these into library parts that you can use. And that's just sort of a more advanced thing. You would have eventually gotten there, but you can probably figure this all out. None of this is terribly magical. I just did all the trial and error for you over the last year and a half. So nothing I've said is not in the Learning Center, other than my strategy for making the sub-assemblies. Okay. Cool.
Okay, so can I is there a way to just delete this whole project so then later on I can go back and start fresh when I read?
Oh, absolutely.
The video? Okay,
Absolutely.
Can you just tell me how to delete it, and then I'm just gonna watch the recording of the Zoom because I'm really far behind. So
okay, no worries, no worries. Well, actually, you can catch up right now. You can. You're going to do exactly what I do. Not everybody is going to do this, but you and I are going to do it. You ready?
Yeah.
I'm going to highlight everything I see. And I'm gonna hit the delete key. And I don't know why it doesn't delete those guys. All right. And then I guess I have to go select each one of these things. Whoops. I'm a little confused by why that didn't work. I'm going to highlight all of that stuff and I'm just going to hit delete. Okay. So I got a brand new, fresh, clean document, just like, did you get that?
Yeah, I'm doing it right now.
Okay.
You said just hit the delete key.
Yeah, or go, if you go over here to, this is the list of parts that you've got over here on the
Yeah.
left, Lillian. You see it?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, you can just, you can click on all 3 of those or all 5 of them or whatever's there, hit right click, go down to the bottom and there's a delete.
I'm not understanding. Sorry.
No problem. Do you have assembly 1 or robot?
Yeah, it says assembly 1.
Okay, and do you see a bunch of things like robot base, omni wheel? Does it look like this?
Mine just says robot because I didn't even like get the omni wheel on there.
Share your screen really quick.
Okay. Okay. Here it is. Yeah, I did. So it came out like a sketch like that.
Oh yeah, okay, no worries. So I want you to click on assembly 1. There you go. And everything over there, see robot base?
Yeah.
I would click in the middle of that word. Oh, well, actually, there you go. You're there. Perfect. You're in exactly the right spot. We'll ignore your wheels for now.
Okay.
Good job. All right. I'm gonna take the screen share back. All right. There we go. Yay, team. Okay, so I'm going to delete my Omni wheels. All right, so there was a request to continue on with the with this. So the reason I went through all of that is we're now going to if you remember our original robot, it had like some wheels and stuff on it, and we wanted to we're going to continue on and assemble this thing, but we're not going to spend quite as much time on the minutia of stuff. And I'm going to tell you that if at any point you start to fall far behind, there is a model that you can import the thing that you're behind on from, because a lot of this just has to do with dealing with library stuff is really what I wanted to do. Okay, so this is what we're headed for. We have this base. Everybody's got that square base, and now we're going to deal with putting all of this together, and all of those are library parts. So here, off we go. Well, I guess the first thing we wanted to do is let's make we're going to take a motor and a plate and one of these screw things, and this is called a hub and a wheel. So that's where we're headed. But we're going to start with the motor. So you're going to do an insert, other documents, Tuesdays with Kevin. I'm sorry. I was trying to get to the FIRSTBot library. I'm going to back up a little bit. So we're trying to get to Tuesdays with Kevin, FIRSTBot library. And we're going to look in AndyMark. And we're going to insert one of these classic 40 motors. One of these guys right here. Click. There it goes. How'd you do? Good? All right. Lillian, how'd you do?
Good.
All right, sweet. Now I'm going to go up one level, and I'm going to go to FIRSTBot custom parts. I'm going to click in there. And what I would really like is this Never Rest 40 mount plate motor. I should have said motor plate. Well, mount plate rounded. I'm going to grab one of these, put it right there. Now, remember, some of you yesterday had a lot of fun putting together screws with plates and stuff. Remember, we had to do like a bunch of offsets and a bunch of other stuff. Well, that was mostly a learning exercise because very quickly you figure out that libraries are really cool because you can do things like pre-assemble those. And so you don't have to sit there and do all of that tedious offset stuff. I was just using that as an example. So one of the things that I would put and have put in our libraries is a T-nut, double T-nut with screws already attached at the right spacing to fit a plate. So that will make your life a little bit easier. We don't have to mess around with all of the minutia of that. Okay, so so there we go. We're about to put together a motor plate. So we're going to just start with those 3 parts first. We'll add some more in a little bit. So I'm going to hit the green check mark. Should have something that sort of looks somewhat similar to that. Lillian, how'd you do?
So I'm like messing up. So I'm going back and like inserting everything.
Sounds good. All right. So team, what we're going to do is, you know, when you're dealing with library parts, they come in and you're going, well, I kind of see how they fit together. This hole is off center. So I guess I would like to, we'll do a couple of quick mates. We'll do a revolute mate. And I'm going to revolute mate. We won't want the motor to move around. So I'd like to use a couple of these screws. In fact, if I just use, all you really need is 2 screws, that'll hold it in place. Or 2 of the holes, 2 of the screw holes. So I'm going to select that hole and this hole. And as always, because we need to, we're going to flip it. There we go. And I'm going to hit OK. So then I want to do this hole and that hole there. So I'm going to do a revolute mate. And I'm going to pick this hole here. Okay. And now what I really want to do is I want to pick this hole. So I'm going to scroll in on this. And it turns out if you hover over the side of a hole, it will show you the 3 thickness holes, right? Or those are in axis with the hole. So we're going to come down to the bottom of this and click. And I'm going to hit solve and see what it does. It really didn't like that. And I don't know why. So I'm going to hit X and figure out, I got to figure that out. I think I picked the wrong hole maybe. Okay. I'm going to try it again. Revolute mate, this, and this. And if you need to, you can hold down the shift key and that will allow you to only select those 3. And that worked. Why is it mad at me? Oh, what's that? Okay, need to delete that. I don't know what that is. Oh, somebody, that is Iron Mustang. I don't know who Iron Mustang is. You're actually working in my file rather than your file. That's what happened. It's all good. We'll try it again. We ended up with an extra mate going there that we didn't intend for. Okay. Sorry about that. Hopefully you guys got yours to work. I have not yet to be able to do that.
I didn't get this insert. Where did you get this bracket?
It's in. Give me 1 sec to finish this. All right, there we go. Okay, that's what we were looking for. Is that right there? Jason, it is in other documents. I don't remember if I showed you how to do the labels, but you're trying to get to FIRSTBot custom parts.
Okay, so under Tuesday, Kevin.
Yeah, Tuesdays with Kevin. Tuesdays with Kevin in the library.
Okay, first library
Yeah,
and the first custom, first
custom parts. Yeah,
part.
and then mount
Oh.
Never Rest 40 mount plate.
Okay, there's two of them. The never is one.
One's a hub plate, one's a mount plate.
So which one you want? The second one?
Yep.
Okay,
Okay.
got it. Thank you.
All right. And then it turns out that we're going to mount this to the inside. So this face is going to join this face. So before I do that, I'm going to put these guys. I'm going to put those on. So I'm going to do a revolute on. If I grab that inside face of that, and I highlighted the inside face and got the circle part. And now I'm going to roll this guy over and put it right there. And I need to flip that because it's going the wrong way. There we go. Solve it. There. Hey, look at that.
Cool.
I like that. And then I want to do the same thing, same revolute mate. I'm going to grab this guy and I'm going to fix it to this guy. Solve it. There we go. So yeah, and the lovely part was, since I pre-assembled this, because we use these all the time, that all the gap and all the rest of that stuff just works. We don't have to do sliders and all the rest of those things. Okay. So now we're going to do a planar mate between the face of this, solve it. Okay. And then I would like to do a planar on, oh, come on. It is, there we go. With that and that, should be good. All right. So, well, that's pretty slick. Oh, I forgot to put the screws in. So we need some 6mm screws over there. So I'm going to do an insert standard content. I need ISO, which is, okay, so our plan is to put in 6 3mm screws over here. Insert standard content. We need ISO, that's metric. Bolts and screws, socket head screws, M3, 8mm long. So ISO, bolts and screws, socket head screws, socket button head screw, the lot of words going on here. M3, 8mm length, okay? And then I'm gonna come over here, I'm gonna select these holes, just that hole, and that hole, and that hole, that hole, that hole, that hole, okay? And hit insert. And I got the screws, the 18, all right, cool. Okay, I'm going to go look at my example again. We have this, we have a hub and a wheel to put on still. So I'm going to go back over here. I'm going to go with hub, insert, other documents. Sometimes you can go with recently opened and it'll show you the files that you've recently opened. And I was looking to see if oh, well, I recently opened the other one. Okay, well, what I wanted didn't show up. That's okay. Other documents, we want FIRSTBot custom parts and this FTC Onyx hub. We're gonna get one of those out with that there. Then while I got this open, I can, you know, you can actually insert a bunch of parts if you wanted to. So I can go up a level. I can go to Andy Mark. I can go to Assemblies, and I would like, so that now I'm back, so I'm in the Andy Mark one, and I'm going to grab one of these wheels. Okay. Have I lost anybody? Is anybody hopelessly lost? You guys are doing a good job, I'm sure. Okay. So well, I guess the first thing I'm going to do is I would like to attach the hub to this. Hey, it's our Revolute Mate friend again. You can put, you could either Revolute Mate this to this as a, so I could go with this guy and then hover over this face, there it is, and get that center fellow and then flip it around. That works. And then if the holes line up, well, if I look over here, the holes don't actually line up, the screw holes. And I'm anal retentive, so I would like it to line up. But if I can't see in there what I'm going to do, I don't know what I'm going to do. So, well, what you could do is you could actually right click this guy and make him transparent. Ah, look at that. That's kind of classy. And then I can grab this hub down here and I should, oh, if I can also right click this and make it exit transparent. Temporarily, I'm going to right click this guy and fix it so it doesn't move. So I've right clicked on the wheel to make it so it didn't move. Then I'm going to make it transparent. And now I should be able to grab this part and rotate it. And I'd like it to line it up so that the holes line up. So, whoops, I want these holes to line up with those holes. There we go. Cool. So this make transparent is really useful if you can't see something or if you can't get access to something. It sort of disables the part, so you can't really do anything with it, but it does allow you to manipulate things behind it. So now I can exit make transparent, and I can do a Revolute Mate on the top of this hole and the bottom of this hole. There we go, and hit the check mark, and that is all I need to actually fully constrain this. This will no longer move.
So after you check mark, can you go back? So like uncheck to do maneuver again?
Yeah, how far back do you want to go, Jason?
No, I just kind of just for general questions. So if you see like you actually didn't do what you wanted after you check a mark after mate, can you unmate it for?
Oh, okay. Let me. I will go back and unmate. So I'm going to get rid of these two revolutes. There we go. So this part is now loose.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So when you go to mate something, especially hubs and round stuff, you can also oftentimes just use the fact that they are, if they're supposed to line up, then the two circles should be concentric. And so what I decided to do here was to say, I would like to mate a revolute mate on that circle and this circle. And I need to pick, there we go. And what I guess what I'm actually revolute mating is this circle.
You wait there for a second.
Bigger circle. We'll click on that. Okay. And it put it in place. Do you see that?
Yeah.
Okay. And now I hit the green check mark. So that is now in place. But if I leave it that way, this thing will spin independently of the wheel.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if that's a problem or not, but that isn't what I wanted to have happen. I want this to be locked to the wheel, right? So I'm going to turn this around and I'm going to cheat a little bit because I was trying to make a point. I can't see the holes.
Yeah.
So if I wanted to see the holes, I'm going to unfix here. So if I wanted to see the holes, there are a couple of things I can do. I can make this guy transparent. So I've made the wheel transparent. Now I can see the part back there behind it. And I should be able to grab this thing and I want to spin it. But what's happening is I'm I ended up grabbing the whole wheel.
Whole thing. Mhm.
So I'm going to go exit transparent. And this time I'm going to fix the wheel. So now the wheel won't move. If I grab it, it can't move. Now I'll make it transparent again. Okay. And now I can actually grab that hub back there and spin it. And I want to get it so that the mounting holes are visible through those holes. So then I can make exit transparent here. So now I got access to those holes, right?
Yeah. Mhm.
And also, I already have one mate in the center, so it's lined up. All I need is one other revolute mate, and that's going to be this guy. And so I'm going to hover over the side wall of the hole, and then I can pick either the top, the mid, or the bottom. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm going to hover over the side wall of the hole. Now I press down the shift key, and that'll limit my selection to whatever is associated with that sidewall. I'm going to pick the bottom one. And then I'm going to hover over the sidewall down there, hit the shift key, and now that's limited. And so I'm going to pick the top one and then hit OK. And now these two holes are revolute. Does that make sense?
Yep.
And now this
Yep.
thing doesn't, oh,
Right.
it got mad at me. What did you get mad at? Oh, I know what I did. I forgot to hit. I think I X'd it rather than, okay. We'll try it again. Mate connectors. I wanted that one, and I wanted that one. Solve it, hit OK. Oh,
Not
Something
line up,
is-
no.
something broke. This broke. I don't know why that broke. Undo. Okay, that was weird. All right, here's another trick you can pull. There's lots of ways to skin the cat. I can actually fix this guy, or that's still fixed. I can rotate this to where I kind of want it, because I can get the screws and stuff in there. And then I can actually go change this revolute mate into a fixed mate,
Fixing.
or fastened mate, sorry, is what I wanted. Fastened mate. Okay. Oh, well, you know what? This isn't that critical. Well, no, I should fix it because I don't know what I'm doing wrong. Somebody in the chat kind of tell me. All right. The wheel is still fixed. I should be able to turn that back wheel into there. Okay. Oh, they're not, they may not be concentric. Huh. Revolute. That. Whoops. Got that wrong. That one. No. Here I am, you're spending your evenings watching me screw around with this. Sorry about that. Solve it. Yeah, it's not solving. I don't know why. Okay, I'm going to ignore that for right now because I didn't want to run too long tonight.
Yeah.
All right. And then I can do an insert on standard content, ANSI, bolt screws, socket heads. We actually want 632s that are 1.25 inches long. Okay, so I did an insert standard content, ANSI, socket head screws, button cap screw, 632, 1.25 inches long. We'll make them zinc so they shine. And I'm going to select this hole, the tops of those holes. And insert. Okay. Yeah, Pete, I don't, I think there's something off. I'll investigate later why that didn't work. I don't know 100% why. It's all good. But that's what it looks like. Now we're going to put the hub on the motor. So I would like to have, well, here's another chance to use that transparency trick, because I would actually like to have this go transparent, and I would like to put a revolute mate on this end of the hub, like it right there. Okay, so I was able to get at that, and then I want the end of the shaft down here. And this is going to fail, and I know why. That's okay. It's going to turn red on us. Oh, no, it didn't. Did it work? Maybe it worked. Let's see what happened. Oh, okay. Because this wheel is actually fixed. So I need to unfix the wheel, but I think when I make it untransparent, it may barf. It's not barfing. That's interesting. I don't know. It should have barfed, but I'll unfix this. Oh, the rest of the robot wasn't fixed. Okay, that makes sense. Never mind. I had left that fixed. So anyway, there we go. There's our wheel. That's what we were after. Okay. We need another one of those, but who wants to do that twice? So what I can do is I can find the motor all the way down through the socket head screws, all of those, right? And I'm going to so what we're going to do is we're going to make an assembly. Come down here, move to new subassembly. And I can call this a mounted wheel. So sorry, new subassembly. It's still in place. The new assembly is actually already there. Going over to the assembly, I'm going to right click it and rename this as mounted wheel. Mounted motor wheel. Okay. Go back to the robot, and I can just do an insert of an assembly called a mounted motor wheel. And there we got another one already. Okay. How am I doing? Is that making sense, everybody?
Wow, that's very useful.
Yeah, very useful. And then you can do a flush mount to this side. Okay. Whoops, I messed that up. So I'm going to have to go back and edit that. Hey, I mess up all the time too. It's all good. I need to flip it. Yeah, there we go. All right. And then I kind of want to make the top planar. Make this planar with this. Okay. And then we're going to make, well, we actually would like them to be aligned between each other so that they're on the same axis. So I'm actually going to do another planar connection between the front of this guy and the front of this guy. And now they're always going to be on the same plane, right?
Oh, yeah.
Does that make sense? And then I kind of want them to be, I want this to align with this in a planar way. And that looks pretty good. But it turns out that when they actually touch, this is in the way. When they actually touch, I think they're actually intruding on the curve here. So we actually want to offset that a little bit. Instead of meeting them right smack together, let's put them 0.0625. Is that enough?
Yeah.
We'll do a solve. Oh, we need to go minus 0.0625. I think I select things backwards all the time. There we go. And we'll do a little solve. And yeah, that means that they're not running into that little curve there.
Hmm.
Yeah. All right, there we go.
Nice.
And again, you know, if you're missing some of the assembly stuff or whatever, I'm just hoping I'm showing you what's possible. The tutorials and a little bit of time on yourself, you would be able to do this. I'm going for new people, probably pretty fast. Hunter, the screws that were used on the wheels were this. Do you see it? They are called 632 ANSI bolt screws, socket head screws, button head screws, size 632. 6 is the diameter. Oh, could you put that in chat? Absolutely, I can do that. ANSI inch bolts, screws, socket head. Number 6. So number 6 means that's the diameter, and it's in a weird gauge system that has existed for about 120 years, and it just is what it is. The -32 means there are 32 threads. If you had an inch of this, if that thing was an inch long, there'll be 32 threads if you counted each individual thread. And then they are 1.25 inches long. And then the other parameters are not that important, but steel and zinc. Okay, very cool. So one last thing I'll show you, which is a little more in line with my importing of parts. We're going to import one more part, but we're not going to get it from one of our normal vendors. We're going to go get it from a company called McMaster Carr. If you're ever do a lot of engineering or a lot of robotics, you are going to actually fall completely in love with McMaster Carr. For example, at 10:30 last night, I ordered some screws and some nuts, and they showed up at 10 o'clock this morning from Los Angeles. And I didn't even do it overnight. That was UPS ground. They ship so much stuff that they literally will send a truck barreling up the highway. I guess I ordered it 7:30 last night, and they showed up at 10 this morning. So that's pretty cool. So the name of the company. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to insert. Let me show you what we're building. We're going to build these front wheel assemblies. And so it's got a couple of plates. We have those in our library. It's got a couple of shaft collars in the library. This is in the library. I left these out. These are bronze bushings. So they're bearings. And so the reason I left them out is I wanted to show you how to import something from a non-first supplier. And lots of companies actually sell stuff. And McMaster is the interesting one, McMasterCar.com. And I can't remember, they have like a warehouse in Los Angeles. It's like 800,000 square feet or 1,000,000 square feet. This place literally sells everything. They stock almost everything. And it's shocking how big this catalog actually is. It's a cool place. You can find springs, belts, gears, pulleys, all kinds of crazy stuff. And the pricing is actually pretty decent. Professional engineers rely on places like this. So you're going to go to McMaster Carr. Everybody's going to do this. McMasterCar.com. And when this website comes up, you are going to look for, you're going to type in bearings, and hit enter. And these are all of the power transmission bearings that they have. And what we're going to use are what are called plain bearings. So I'm going to click here on plain bearings. And they have, you can either do things by picture, or at some point you can start to go, oh, I'm starting to see along the lines of what I want to see. So I know that these are going to be inch in size. And you didn't know this, but I'll tell you, the shaft diameter is 3/16 of an inch. There it is. And we're going to do a flanged bearing. That's one of these. And the length we want to be 1/4 inch. How I selected this bearing is not quite as, is not the point of this, but here it is. Oil embedded flange sleeve bearings. It is for a 3/16 shaft. Outside diameter is 5/16, which is fine. It is 1/4 inch long. That's its the length from there to there. Okay, so we like that. And at McMaster Carr, you can come over and click on the part number, and you could order these. Yeah, they're 53 cents each, not too bad. But one of the cool things is you can actually download a step file. So we're going to download another step file. Okay, go ahead and download it. How am I doing? Is everybody there? I assume everybody got there. All right, cool. Now I'm going to go back to my, from McMaster Carr, I'm going back over here to my document. And what we're going to do is we're going to use this down here. We're going to do an import. And we're going to import this part. This is the file you should have ended up with, 6338K563. It's all good. So there it is, and I'm going to open it. And it's probably a simple part, so I'm going to combine it. I'm just going to use a part studio, or I could import it into the document, and it's going to do the same thing, actually. So actually, it doesn't matter. So I'm going to just go with import to this document, and in it comes. And you can see it created a tab for it, and it properly imported it. Okay, and here it is. And it's even bronze colored already. Pretty cool, huh? A couple of things when you're importing stuff like this, if you do this right now, your life will be much better. If you right click on the part, so this is a part studio, we haven't dealt with them yet, but always get in the habit of whenever you import something that is a part like this, you'll want to right click it and assign a material. And so we're going to assign it, and these are made of bronze, B-R-O-N-Z-E, bronze. And it's not aluminum bronze, but it is bronze. And that'll be close enough. What it just did is it assigned physical properties like weights and stuff. And if you ever wanted to calculate the center of mass of your robot, say you had to balance something, or you're wondering if your robot is well balanced or not, if you've done that to all of these little parts that you're importing, you'll get a lot closer. Okay, cool. The other thing you can do is you can actually right click this guy and edit its appearance. So if you wanted to go more of a bronzy color, you could actually change its appearance to something more bronzy if you wanted to, or you could make it purple. Doesn't really matter. I'm gonna make mine a little less yellow. In fact, a lot of times I'll use the colors up here, and I'll just pick on, well, that's a good color. There you go. Or bronzerish. There we go. Good enough. So there we go. So now we got that nice bronze color. Two other things that you'll want to do, especially if you're doing library parts, and I'm going to show you why. I'm just going to swap back over to the robot real quick. And when I do an insert in part but now you can see, oh, well, this is a 6338K563 oil embedded flange sleeve bearing. That is what it is, and that's the part number for McMaster Carr. And it got repeated again down here, and I'll show you what the relationship between these is. But that's really not a very useful name when you're putting something in a library. So I'm going to now go back, and first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to change the name of this thing. I'm going to say, rename this to be a 0.1875 ID by 0.3125 OD by 0.25 in length bearing. Okay, so I just changed the name of the part studio. Okay, so now when I go to insert, if I go over here to insert, and so these are what I'm headed for here is I'm trying to point out that if a little bit of care when creating a library can go a long way into making parts something rational. Because when I go to insert now, you can see, oh, well, now I know the size of the bearing. Okay. So that's actually a pretty handy thing to do. Now, the other thing is there's this part number here, and it's completely reasonable to keep that part number handy. But again, it's really not descriptive. So I'm going to go back to this guy, and I can right click this. I have my choice. I could just flat out rename the thing, or I can look at its properties. So if I look at its properties, here's the name of it. And what I really want to do is I really want to take this number. In fact, I really want to take this whole thing, delete it, and put it down here in the part number. And then I can say McMaster car. That's where I got it from. I think there's actually, I could actually put it down here in vendor as well. There we go. So here we'll do the real thing. So that's the vendor, McMaster car. There's their part number. And now I can tell you that it's a 0.1875 ID by 0.3125 OD by 0.25 bearing. Okay. So when I do that, even though I sort of replicated the name in the part studio, but that's okay. But now when I go to insert one of these things, I'm able to actually see what it is. Okay, so when I insert one here, I got it. And if I needed to, if I looked at the bill of materials, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on that, but the part number and the description actually show up in the bill of materials rather than whatever that part number was. How did I do? Did that make sense? So when you import a part, especially into a library, you want to give it a descriptive name. When you are importing something that you got to remember, there are actually two titles for it. Even if you have a single part, there's actually two names, but you either want them to match, or if you've got a part studio that has a whole bunch of different parts in it, make sure that you've given nice descriptive names. Okay, and take the time to do the material assignment. And if you need to change its color to something that represents what it is, your life will just be better off for it, especially when you're doing library stuff. You believe me on that one? I hope so. Okay, cool. So now I have this part and it's available for me to insert. So let's go finish this off. We're going to make we're going to insert from, did we do FTK yesterday? Did I show everybody how to do that? Hunter wants me to slow down. No worries. I like it. Thank you for letting me know, Hunter.
You mean the labeling? I like
Yeah.
to give it a label. Yeah, we went over it, but it wouldn't harm to refresh us again.
Okay, so a very, very super useful thing is when you are dealing with things like libraries, you access them all the time. And so one of the more interesting things that you can do is you can say, oh, I like these libraries. I would like quick access to all these libraries. So I can actually click on the first one, shift click on the bottom one. I've just selected all of them, and I can right click and give them labels. And you can type in, if you don't have any labels, I labeled mine FTK, right? Turns out that is a label that already exists, but that's okay. And or you can create a new label. So let's say I actually want to make these FTC parts, right? So I can make a new label, create it. And now all of those things are labeled under FTC parts. So that when you go to insert, if you go to insert other documents, not only do some commonly used things show up, but these labels become available to you. And so I can click on FTC parts and everything that's labeled, it doesn't matter where the library is, it doesn't matter what directory it's in. If it's labeled FTC parts, I can find it very quickly. And it makes, instead of having to drill down through all of these directories, it just makes that super easy to use. Does that make sense? Okay, cool. We're going to go back to first custom parts. And we would like to have not one, but two of these. And it turns out we're gonna need a wheel. I'm gonna pull a wheel out over here. You also need a hub. And you also need two of these set screws. 1, 2. Okay, 2 set screws, 1 hub. 1 of the hub, or 2 of the hub plate roundeds, that's these guys. 1 Tetrix wheel. And then the next thing you're going to need is in the assemblies. You're going to want a double T-nut with screws, and you actually want 2 of those. Everybody caught up?
Yeah.
Okay, sounds good. Hit the green check mark. Life's good. Well, first thing we could do, and we should do, is we're going to just do a couple of quick revolute mates. And we're going to do, you've done these before. These guys, whoops. That guy's going into that hole. And I need to orient it properly. There we go. Do a solve. And now we need to get, oh yeah, all right. I'm going to do this guy into this hole. Solve that one. Whoops. And yeah, I see things are flying around. All right. I'm going to hit the green check mark and move a few things here. What do I got? I got, I guess only 1 revolute worked. I don't know what happened. Let me try it again. We need this guy and this guy. Flip it, solve it. There we go. And I want this guy. You guys know the drill. We've done the same plate a couple of times already. All right, that worked. Check mark. And then I want to do this guy into. All right, there they are. Now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to attach these. If you remember my example robot, oh, whoops, that's the wrong one. Yeah, sorry. Wrong second robot. I was looking for, oh, there it is. Okay, so now I'm thinking about putting these guys on either side, and then we're going to put the bearings in those plates as well, and then we're going to run a shaft through. We haven't done the shaft yet, and then we have an axle to put on the inside of this wheel, and a couple of shaft collars. That's kind of where we're headed. So let's do that with these guys. We're going to do a planar mate between this guy and maybe this side. solve it. Yay. Do a planar mate between that top. There we go. Solve it. Same thing. We've done this before. You guys got this. This one goes on the inside. Planar mate. And I'm going to pause after this. So, whoop, did we get it? No, I need to flip that one. Yeah. Okay. And I want this guy to be behind this guy. Solve it. Flip it. Solve it. There we go. And then just like we did on the other one, I'm going way fast. I know that. I was trying to finish up in less than 5 minutes. Sorry. I'm going to align those two. And I'll pause. Anybody stuck? If you are done, there is some sort of, let's see, where are the, if you know how to use the reactions, if you don't, if you wiggle over the controls for I should have been doing this all along. Wiggle over the controls for zoom and click on the 3 dots for more. You can turn on a little menu of reactions. And you can give me a thumbs up when you're done. As soon as we get most of you with thumbs ups, continue. Oh, I think I stopped sharing. What happened? Oh, I just stopped sharing. I didn't intend to do that. All right, starting to see some thumbs up happening. Okay. So now we need a shaft. And so we're going to insert one, and guess what? It's in one of our libraries because it's a handy thing to do. Now the shaft that we're going to insert is actually in a configurable library. And next time we'll be talking about how to do those. Right now, we're just going to talk about how to use them. So we're going to do an insert. Oh, actually, let me we need to put the bearings in first. So we're going to do an insert from our own document. We need 2 bearings, 1 and 2. Okay. And we're going to do revolute mates on them. Told you, man, you use revolute mates a lot. It's like the most common of all of the mates. And we want to mate it to the inside of the plates. So see the inside plate of the plate there? So that's where that one goes. Okay. I'm going to do the same thing to this guy. I need to flip it. Okay. So it'll end up looking like that. So there you go. This is a part that you downloaded all by, or you download from McMaster Car into your own thing there. Okay. And the next thing that we're going to do if we're all ready, I think we probably are. So we're going to insert other documents. And we're going to FTK. And I usually call the library that has configurable parts a part factory, because it allows you to like create parts. And so that's been my naming convention. So in the part factory, find a whole bunch of stuff in here. We're going to go with round shafts. I'm going to spin that down. Configuration, we want 0.1875 round. And for now, we're going to make it 2.75 inches long. Okay. And I'm going to hit generate, and that will cause a round shaft to appear. If I sat here long enough, I believe generating preview is going to show us the shaft. There it is. Okay, so I'm going to insert one of those right here. Cool. And I'm done. Is everybody caught up with that? Anybody need me to pause? Anybody feeling so far behind that you're lost? All right, so there we go. All right, we're going to do a revolute mate. I'm going to zoom in on this guy, and I'm going to pick the end of the shaft, and then I'm going to pick the inside of this hole like that, and hopefully you get a shaft sticking out like that. See it out there? Okay. Cool. I'm going to hit OK. Now, I know if you think about it in the real world, this shaft is not really constrained by anything. And technically, I should have put a slider on there, but I didn't. But I know that I'm going to want a shaft collar to clamp on to the shaft here on the inside of the bearing, another one to clamp on over here, and that will keep the bearing from sliding out of the hole. So I'm going to take these two shaft collars, and guess what? Another revolute mate, because that's what robots do. And you kind of want to select the face. You want to get yourself so you can select the face of the bearing. Okay. And that's where the shaft collar goes. And I'm going to do there and there. Kind of looks like that. Then we need to put a hub on this wheel. That is a Pitsco hub. It's going to go on the inside, or well, I should say I usually make two of these holes onto a wheel. I'm going to do a revolute mate. This guy, one of these. And I need to flip it. There it goes. So it's isn't embedded. And then I want to use this. And I need the bottom of that other hole. Come over here, rotate that around, pick the bottom of that other hole. Solve it. Okay, cool. Almost done. So now this thing has a set screw. The set screw currently isn't in it, but we'll worry about that another time. But we do need to, these are threaded holes on this side. So we need to put screws on this side. So I'm going to do an insert, standard content, 632 screws again. That's pretty handy. I believe they only need to be a 1/2 inch long though. So we changed the size. Screws are 632 1/2 inch. 4 holes, 1, 2, 3, 4. Insert. Cool. Then we're going to attach this to the shaft that we got sticking out over there. So I'm going to do another Revolute Mate. I wonder how many Revolute Mates I've made in my life. It's got to be a lot. All right, so I want the end of this shaft to line up with, actually doesn't really have to stick out any farther than the end of the axle, otherwise it's just wasting material. So we'll hit OK. Boom. See what it looks like. Oh, there we go. Nice. And then remember how last time, so this thing still slides, right? Because it's planar here and planar on the top. So I'm going to do the same thing we did with this guy, make this guy here planar with the inside face of the front here, solve it. And then I want to go, I'm going to offset it. I think we used minus 0.0625. That's a minus 1/16 of an inch last time. And hit OK. There we go. That just left that little gap there. So that's pretty nice. All right. So now we're about to enjoy what I think is sort of the zen of the configurable part is, well, that wheel's sticking out there too far. And in fact, I think if I was to go in here and decide, I could measure from here to the bolt. We don't want it to rub on the bolt. So the planar distance between those two is 0.7542. It's just over 3/4 of an inch. So if I took off 3/4 of an inch, it would be a little over 1/16 of an inch away from that bolt. So I should be able to do that. So I'm going to go find our shaft. Let's see, where is that? Round shaft. And it's 2.75 inches at the moment. So I'm going to right click that. I'm going to change its configuration. Whoops. I see with my mouse right now, it's telling me I have two things selected with that mouse cursor up there. I didn't want that, so I have to click off there. Now, if I come back down to the round shaft, I should be able to do change configuration. And I'm going to knock that down to 2 inches to generate. And then hit OK. And it's way close, but in theory, it's missing that. But I think that that's too close. Not happy with that. Looks like it's going to rub. Okay, I'm going to go back to the round shaft again. Change its configuration. And let's make it 2.125. That's 2 1/8 inches. Generate that. Yeah, that looks better. Okay. That's sort of the joys of doing this in CAD. Make little changes like that pretty quickly. It's hard to stretch metal that far. Okay. So there it is. Hey, just like last time, I need another set of those over here so I can actually kind of go, well, I think that part all the way down to this part makes up that assembly there. So I'm going to go right click and I am going to move to a new subassembly. So that's now assembly 1. I'm going to come over here and I'm going to go rename this to mounted front wheel. Okay. Go back to my robot. Do an insert, assemblies, mounted front wheel. There's one. Okay. Now all I have to do is to do the planar mates on this guy. Planar mate on this one. To that. solve that. Huh. That isn't what I expected. Oh, you know what it is? There's no actual relationship between those two plates. Oh, that's a problem. So I can go fix that in my assembly, right? I'm gonna go over here to my mounted front assembly, and I'm going to realize that I actually would like these guys to be constrained by, I need to add a couple of constraints here to hold that thing in place. So I want this guy to always be even with this guy as a planar. And I'm going to undo that because that isn't what I wanted. I want a planar mate between this face and this face, but I want it to be offset by 1 inch. And let's try solve. And I guess I need to do -1 inch. I swear we're almost done here, team. Okay, there we go. So those are now 1 inch apart as they should be. And then now I can do a planar mate between this guy and this guy. So, okay, there we go. So now when I go back to the robot, I can move this whole assembly as one piece. There we go. All right. Planar mate between this guy and this guy. Flip it, solve it. Good. I want a planar mate between this guy and this guy. Okay. And then, like we did with the other ones, we want these wheels to be aligned this way. Okay. And I know some of you have probably decided that you're going to finish this later because I just went really fast. That's okay. I wanted to be done. You're welcome to, at any time, continue working on this thing on your own. I'm going to upload this video in a couple of hours. It'll be up at probably about 10 o'clock. And the other one is also up in case you didn't get the email on that one. Here's what I wanted you to see today. Library files are really, really useful when you have parts pre-made, downloaded, that people can use to insert stuff. Okay, if you were to sit down and try and draw all of these parts and then try assembling them all, it is 100% doable. It would take you 40 hours probably, and that students don't do that very well. So your ability for your team to be able to work with these parts that we're downloading is super duper important. And realize so far we haven't drawn a thing. So next time, what we're going to do is we are going to draw one part, and I'll show you how to draw parts in context. You won't be an expert at it, but you will know what that term means. It's super cool. You'll actually enjoy it. We're going to play with the configuration of this thing, and we'll make it ridiculously big and ridiculously small with a new part on top, which is the cover board for it. And you can see it, the whole thing will dynamically resize. Again, you won't be an expert at it, but you'll know that it is possible. And then we're going to talk about how to implement those configurable parts. It's really, really straightforward. Once you see it, you'll get a feel for why you'd want to do that. And then the tutorials are actually really good about explaining how to do that. I apologize, I ran way longer than I thought, but I just wanted to finish this part tonight. So hopefully you will stick with me. We got one more night, which is going to be Tuesday. Are we good? Any questions? What can I do better? I can watch the chat probably. Oh no, nobody was chatting. All right.
No, I think this is great. I think what happens, at least for me, is when the moment I try and get something done on my own, I kind of lose track.
Sure.
And if I get stuck. But on the other hand, I think the pace is good for you because I can go back and look at the video. So I think it's all good as far as I'm concerned.
Okay, great. Yeah. Normally this is a whole college quarter. We're doing it in like 4 hours. So, well, we've done it in 4 hours. It's taken 4 hours and 15 minutes so far. But yeah. And again, my hope and goal is that you, if you do get stuck, go check out that Learning Center. The tutorials, all of these tutorials are just, they're very succinct. They don't take too long to get through. And I think I'm actually honestly impressed with them. They did a very nice job putting these tutorials together. I was color me impressed on that one. Okay, so next time we're going to completely finish this off by drawing a top. So we're going to make one part in a part studio, and but we're going to do it in a way that is called in context, so that you can see what that means and how powerful it is. And then I will show you how we used in context on one of my team robots to do some really powerful stuff. It's where CAD really shines. It is something that students usually never actually get to, but combined with assemblies and drawing stuff in context, it's a good thing. And configurable parts. That's next time. See you guys.
Thank you, Kevin.